There's been a South Hamilton crossing since 1851. It became a problem in the 1890s. By the end of the 1890s, it was known as the Hamilton Death Trap. Now, at that time, remember, it was still a person on horseback, pedestrians, horse-drawn wagons, that type of thing. No automobiles in the 1890s. But by the end of the 1890s, the people in Hamilton, the local newspapers, were calling it the death trap. And it has been a problem ever since. There have been at least 10 times where there's been a campaign or some start on correcting South Hamilton Crossing, either with an underpass or an overpass.
The idea that this conversation took place, the initial conversation for South Hamilton Crossing took place as early as 1911. And due to political changes, due to the flood of 1913, due to many things that had taken place through the decades, a project of this magnitude, of this necessity, was never constructed.
In 1920, Hamilton received its first city plan from a professional city planner. It was an extensive document, had a lot of great ideas. One of them was South Hamilton Crossing. In fact, it pinpointed the South Hamilton Crossing is Hamilton's major problem. For several years, the Ohio Department of Transportation has prohibited trucks from using the South Hamilton Crossing. So if you are a truck arriving on 127, let's say, and you want to go to an industry that's located on the east side of the crossing, when you come to that crossing, you're not supposed to go across. A semi can tip very easily on that grade on the west side, either going up or coming down. Trucks also have great difficulty in making that turn. So once again, all the danger is not because of the trains, it's because of the nature of the crossing, its topography.
Right now, the truck traffic has to go to the south on Dixie Highway. There have been times in the past before they restricted the intersection of the south crossing where our trucks could go north, particularly when they were going to go to the west side of town. So truck traffic has restrictions and has to make other detour plans to avoid that intersection right now. So a new intersection will cure that problem.
Periodically through the last 107 years, there have been studies that have emphasized how much it costs, either the individual driver or what it costs businesses to have a truck sit at that crossing. You have the fuel expense plus you're paying a driver and you're getting nothing. You're not moving. So the costs to individuals and businesses have been astronomical over the years.
From a safety standpoint, the safety services of the city, although they now have a grade separated crossing at High Street, they still have a number of issues and concerns about getting from one side of the tracks to the other when the trains are coming through. And this will provide a second alternative, and we certainly get a lot of support from the sheriff, the police department, the fire folks, because it would be very important to them and how they do business. The University Commerce Park that I mentioned is another major project of the city's, and this will provide by far the best access to that area, which is an area that they're certainly anticipating to have some significant development in.
As I sit here today, I just left the ribbon cutting for Barclay Card, which was at the former Champion office complex, and that 1,500 employees will be employed there again as early as 2018, that the need for this crossing is that instrumental. There is almost 60 acres of greenfield developable space in this immediate area with University Commerce Park, that Miami University Hamilton any given year has 3,000 to 4,000 part-time students coming in and out of that facility, that for Hamilton's rebirth, its renaissance, that South Hamilton Crossing, a topic that's been discussed for over a century, is finally being constructed, is huge.
After receiving the 1920 city plan, the problem was, where does the city start? And because of the cost of the South Hamilton Crossing, it was not tackled immediately and was put on the back burner for a few years. Then in 1929, the city came back to the South Hamilton Crossing. Unfortunately, 1929, October 1929, was the stock market crash, which most people believe was the start of the Great Depression.
It was a major responsibility working with the city to find funding for the project. This is a very expensive project by the time everything's said and done, because of the need for acquisition of right-of-way, dealing with the railroad, because of the proximity of Pleasant Avenue or State Route 127 on the west, and with East Avenue and Dixie Highway and Central Avenue crossing the tracks. There was lots of right-of-way needed, and we had to involve lots of roads in the design of that project. But ultimately, the estimated cost, total cost from beginning to end, is somewhere in the order of $28 million.
It started a few years ago at $20 million, and of course road costs increase an estimate of 15 to 17% a year. So the most current figure is about $29.5 million, and with the usual things that you encounter in a project of this size, probably will reach $30 million by the time it's completed.
We began working with the city to obtain funding other than just city funds, because you imagine that they really don't have those kinds of funds available for a project. We worked with OKI, the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments, to obtain grant funds that were through the Federal Highway Administration for right-of-way acquisition. That began our process of acquiring outside funds for the project. The TID also has available to it competitive funds that only the TIDs have available, and we were fortunate to receive 2 awards of $250,000 each that we use for right-of-way and design work. And we spent 3 years working with the Ohio Department of Transportation, following what is known as their TRAC process, which is a Transportation Review Advisory Council that essentially looks at the merit of what they consider major projects. We were fortunate enough to compete with interstate projects and other large projects in the state, and after 3 years of effort, we're awarded $10 million by the Ohio Department of Transportation for this project.
It would be remiss of the city not to mention several huge partners in this. The Ohio Department of Transportation, Melissa Taylor, who has been instrumental in this at a very local DOT level, that OKI has helped us push this project forward in the last couple of years, that at the Butler County Transportation Improvement District has been, not only have they been instrumental, but they're also the project manager of record on this project. At a very local level, Carla Fear and Bob Brown. Bob's involvement with OKI, Carla's involvement prior with OKI, but also at the TID level, that Rich Engel on staff, Jody Gunderson on staff, both have been huge proponents, not only from a public safety perspective and engineering perspective, but also because of the economic development perspective.